When the king of late-night television, Johnny Carson, passed away, Hollywood fell silent. No red carpets, no final standing ovation, just a mystery. There was no public funeral, no place for the millions who adored him to say goodbye. But behind that silence hid a secret that stunned everyone. One unexpected guest appeared, someone from Carson's past, someone he never thought he'd see again. And that single moment changed everything we thought we knew about his final days. Stay with us, because the truth behind Johnny Carson's final farewell is more emotional, more shocking than anyone ever imagined. On January 23, 2005, the man who had tucked America into bed for 30 years was gone. Johnny Carson, the undisputed king of The Tonight Show, passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles. The cause was respiratory failure, a result of the emphysema he had battled for years. He was 79 years old. His family released a short statement. He was surrounded by loved ones. There will be no memorial service. And that was it. No grand farewell, no crowd of stars, no last curtain call. It was shocking, but perfectly in character. Because for all his fame, Johnny Carson was intensely private. Dick Cavett, a fellow talk show host and friend, once said that Johnny was painfully shy, so much so that small talk drained him. Even his loyal sidekick, Ed McMahon, said Johnny was comfortable in front of 20 million people and completely uncomfortable in front of 20. He was the most private public man who ever lived, and so, in death, he got the privacy he had always craved. His body was cremated, his ashes given quietly to his wife, Alexis Maas. Across America, the world mourned in its own way. President George W. Bush called him a steady and reassuring presence. Jay Leno, his successor on The Tonight Show, called him the gold standard. And David Letterman, the man Carson himself believed should have followed in his footsteps, said, "All of us who came after are pretenders. We will not see the likes of him again." Fans left flowers on his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame and at Johnny Carson Park, across from the NBC studios in Burbank, where he had made television magic for 3 decades. When the king of late-night television, Johnny Carson, passed away, Hollywood expected a farewell worthy of his legacy. Cameras, celebrities, and a grand goodbye for the man who defined late-night comedy. But there was none of that. There was no funeral, no limousines, no star-studded service, just silence. And in that silence, people began whispering about a mysterious guest tied to his death. Someone who didn't attend, yet whose presence lingered stronger than anyone's. It wasn't a person who came that day. It was a memory, a ghost from the past, the ghost of Joan Rivers, the woman who had once been his greatest ally and later his most painful regret. Before she was a legend, Joan Rivers was a struggling comic, hustling through the smoky clubs of Greenwich Village in the early 1960s. She played tiny rooms where laughter was scarce and pay was worse. By 31, she was close to giving up. She'd been banned from the Jack Paar version of The Tonight Show after a single appearance and had failed 7 auditions for Carson's show. But on February 17, 1965, everything changed. That night, she was given what she called a mercy booking on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. It was her last shot. The lights came up, the jokes flew, and something magical happened. The audience erupted. She was sharp, fearless, and funny. When she sat down beside Carson, still breathless from laughter, he looked at her and said 6 words that would change her life. "You're going to be a star." Overnight, she was, from then on, Joan Rivers became part of The Tonight Show family. She appeared nearly 100 times, becoming Carson's favorite guest, and by 1983, the show's official guest host. When Johnny went on vacation, Joan took the desk, and the world assumed she would one day inherit the throne. But behind the scenes, their relationship was distant. Carson admired her talent but kept everyone, even Joan, at arm's length. Then came the betrayal. In 1986, Fox offered her a massive deal. Her own show, The Late Show starring Joan Rivers, airing opposite Carson's. When he found out, he felt blindsided and never spoke to her again. So when Johnny Carson died, the only guest who truly mattered wasn't there in person. It was Joan Rivers, the ghost of friendship, fame, and the heartbreak that outlived the laughter. Their story began with admiration. Johnny had discovered Joan, championed her, and made her a star on The Tonight Show. To millions of viewers, their bond seemed unbreakable. Mentor and protege, two sharp comedic minds united by timing and trust. But Hollywood has a way of turning loyalty into heartbreak. In 1986, Fox offered Joan her own late-night show, a direct competitor to Johnny's. Her husband and manager, Edgar Rosenberg, feared that if Johnny found out, he'd kill the deal with one phone call. So Joan kept it a secret until the contract was signed. When the news leaked, she tried to call Johnny immediately. He answered, then hung up. She called again. He hung up a second time. That was it. They never spoke again. Johnny claimed he found out from the press, not from her, and what he felt wasn't disappointment. It was betrayal. His punishment was swift. He banned Joan Rivers from The Tonight Show permanently. Her name was never mentioned again, her image erased as if she had never existed. For Hollywood, the message was clear. Side with Johnny Carson, or lose your seat at the biggest table in television. Joan's new show launched on October 9, 1986. But without the industry's top stars, it struggled. Behind the scenes, tension grew between Fox executives and Edgar. Less than a year later, both Joan and her husband were fired. 3 months after that, Edgar took his own life. Joan was shattered, her career in ruins, her marriage gone, her mentor silent. Through her deepest pain, Johnny Carson never called. Not a word, not a letter, not even condolences. The man who once called her a star turned his back completely. That silence became a wound that never healed. Joan later said, "It was like Stalin had sent me to Siberia." When Johnny Carson died in 2005, that wound reopened. The world mourned the king of late night, but beneath the glowing tributes was one unspoken truth: the feud that haunted his legacy. When reporters asked Joan for her reaction, her words trembled between resentment and love. "He was a mean son of a," she said softly, then added, "He was the most brilliant straight man ever. Nobody touches him." Years later, on her reality show, Joan and Melissa, Joan Knows Best, she visited the cemetery where Johnny's ashes rested. Standing there in the stillness, she whispered to the air, imagining the forgiveness that never came. "After I left The Tonight Show, after I was fired, after Edgar died, Johnny should have had me back on and said, 'Where have you been?'" she said. It would have been a moment of forgiveness, the classiest move from the classiest man on television. But that moment never came. Even in death, Johnny Carson remained silent. And perhaps that silence was his final curtain call, and that's why Joan Rivers was, in a way, the only guest at Johnny Carson's funeral. She didn't stand by his coffin. She lived in the story he left behind. For years, she was the keeper of their history, the only one who ever spoke of it. His side was quiet, hers was full of pain. In the end, Johnny Carson got the farewell he always wanted. No spectacle, no cameras, just peace. But that peace was haunted by a ghost, the ghost of the woman he had made a star, and the one he could never forgive. Because the most unexpected guest at Johnny Carson's funeral wasn't a person at all. It was a memory. The memory of a friendship born from 6 fateful words and destroyed with the click of a telephone. Johnny Carson built his kingdom on loyalty, control, and charm. But in his kingdom, betrayal, especially from the woman he'd discovered, was the one sin that could never be forgiven. He left this world in silence, but that silence still speaks of greatness, pride, and the heavy price of power. He made America laugh. He built legends. But behind that perfect smile was a man who couldn't let go. Johnny Carson, the king of late night, and the ghost he left behind, Joan Rivers. Their story wasn't just about television. It was about loyalty, betrayal, and the price of fame. So the next time you hear that Tonight Show theme, remember, legends don't die, they echo through time. If this story touched you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more untold Hollywood stories that still haunt the spotlight. Thanks for watching.